Story 1. I admitted I need help and received it. I might not be where I want to be, but I am not dead, so I have that going for me. Story 2. I have been a heavy binge drinker for 21 years, consuming 10 to 14 beers a day every day. I haven't touched alcohol since June last year. If you had told me I would be able to stop drinking, I would have laughed and said I had more chance of jet skiing around Jupiter. I have lost 80 pounds since then, and I am happy and living rather than just surviving. Story 3. Getting the privilege of being an English as a second language teacher in Asia is a unique fulfillment. Story 4. Recovering from anorexia nervosa and meeting the love of my life has allowed me to have a functioning and nourished brain, enabling me to finally go through college. Story 5. I have finally mastered the habit of flossing my teeth every day and have never been in better health. I believe it is related. Turns out you really should floss daily. Story 6. I acquired the #1 world record spot on my second favorite video game of all time. Unfortunately, chasing glory feels pointless since whenever you mention it, even when it's relevant to the conversation, people respond as if you were bragging. Story 7. The knowledge I have accumulated enables me to feed my family for free from the woods, as a forager for over 30 years, and to help people with very little money buy their own homes, as a mortgage lender specializing in first-time and low-income loans for the last decade. I have daydreamed about being a beekeeper all my life and finally feel like one now after 8 years of keeping my own bees. Story 8. I have a steady job that I enjoy. I own a house in a peaceful neighborhood. I have cats and it's quite nice. Story 9. I learned how to make electronic music from scratch about a decade ago at the age of 25. Since then, I have achieved significant success, allowing me to support my family with my music income alone. Story 10. I played music for over 900 people in one setting. I know others have achieved more, but this was my personal big win. Story 11. I created this project. Some say it's not an achievement, but rather a curse placed upon our world. Story 12. I experienced significant illness and depression in my 20s, spending most of that time either in bed or in the hospital for 12 years. I am in a better place now, both in my life and living situation. I am attending therapy, and my health has improved. I missed out on many experiences during my 20s, so I am trying to get out more and engage in activities I overlooked. Story 13. Overcoming the challenges of chronic anxiety, depression, and neurological illness completely derailed my life 5 years ago. Story 14. I will be 1 year sober in 8 days. I have never been sober for more than 2 days since I was a teenager until now. I am very grateful and proud. Story 15. Not getting married and having children despite all the societal and family pressures. Story 16. 3 rental properties worth a combined $2.2 million, with 6 active tenants, are all paid up to date. 25 years old. Story 17. 2 happy, healthy children who are prepared for success and have an easier time than I did. Nothing else really compares. Story 18. I was going to say something along the lines of still being here, but that's far from original given the comments so far. We sure are a fun group, aren't we? Story 19. I achieved the career I desired despite everyone in school telling me to stop dreaming. I worked hard to eventually attend university. Story 20. Just a little less than 2.5 months ago, I finally earned my Doctor of Philosophy degree. It was challenging and multiple times I thought about giving up. I am so happy that I didn't, even though I can't tell if it will truly benefit me. Because if I learned one thing from my time in academia, it is that I do not want to remain in academia. Story 21. When I was 19, the top psychiatrist in our area told me that I had achieved as much as I would in life due to my mental health. At that time, I lived with my parents, could not go outside alone, and could not even talk on the phone. Today, I work full-time and live in my own home that I purchased. I could not be more grateful for all I have. Story 22. Second biggest life achievement. I became a lawyer. Biggest life achievement. I stopped being a lawyer. Story 23. I met my idols and realized I wanted to be nothing like them. I got married and bought a home as well. Both experiences are fantastic. Story 24. I was able to study effectively during classes and work during my short breaks. I maintained my grades in college, and I am now a graduating student. Story 25. Building a successful business that provides for my immediate and extended family has allowed my children to thrive in various fields. My entire life has been enriched because of it. Story 26. Getting my pilot's license is something I've wanted to do since I was 4. I wasn't able to finish obtaining my other certifications due to the economy declining, but I at least achieved a childhood dream. Story 27. Graduate with a degree in electrical engineering with cum laude. It is not magna or summa, but I am still proud of it. It is the most difficult thing I have ever accomplished. Story 28. Remaining resilient while aging out of foster care, raising 2 beautiful children, and having a big heart. Story 29. Became a dad and decided to start a YouTube channel. The two are unrelated, but I'm following my purpose. Story 30. I lost over 100 pounds not only once but twice. From 260 to 125 once, then from around 270 to 170 again. Depression is challenging, and I was very disappointed with myself when I gained the weight back. However, with help from my loving family, boyfriend, and friends, I was able to get back up and do it again. I generally have very low self-esteem and do not have much trust in myself, but this experience made me believe in my willpower. I am currently working on other aspects of my life to get back on track and also focused on shedding a little more weight. Story 31. I don't want to brag, but I completed the banana aficionado achievement on Reddit, and with enough hard work, I will become a banana master. Story 32. Getting a degree in engineering. I came from an abusive household and received no financial support. I plan to pursue my master's degree next year. Story 33. I was an egg donor 6 times from 2020 to 2023 and just found out that so far, 9 babies have been born because of it. Story 34. I overcame a life-threatening illness and found happiness on my own after 5 years of being suicidal. I have been sober for over 4 months and am making significant progress. Story 35. 1. Making a wonderful woman fall in love with me will be updated once we are married. Losing approximately 100 pounds and maintaining the new weight. Being good at a job I enjoy. Story 36. Going from financial struggle to earning a livable wage, losing 70 pounds so far, and overall living much more comfortably than I was 10 years ago. I have prayed for days like these. Story 37. I wrote 50,000 words for a novel, something I never thought would be achievable. Yet here it is, staring me in the face. Becoming a published author is a very real possibility. Story 38. I grew up poor in a neighborhood in South Africa among hitmen and gangsters. I worked since I was 15 to support my parents. Some kind individuals offered me a scholarship. While studying, I kept it quiet and didn't let anyone in my neighborhood know I was trying to get a degree because I had adversaries who hated me and would not hesitate to harm me, knowing I was bettering myself. Eventually, I graduated as an engineer. Honestly, it's been difficult adjusting to middle and upper-class life, and I have lost many friends and loved ones because I experienced complex post-traumatic stress disorder flare-ups from gun and knife violence when things are quiet. The peace haunts me and I seek adventure. I have even walked in dangerous areas of my country late at night just to feel something again. But there are no more intense hunger pains, no more soup kitchens, no more ill-fitting hand-me-down clothes. I can go to a doctor and get stitches if I get cut. I can date without feeling embarrassed about where I live, and I can collect vintage Lego. All in all, I am truly grateful. Story 39. I have a career that allows me to take my children to and from school and spend meaningful time with them every day. Story 40. Getting a full scholarship for a year abroad and becoming a youth ambassador for my country when I was 14 years old. Becoming a doctor at 25. Finding the love of my life, which involved a lot of luck. Buying my first property to live in and rent out at 27. Story 41. I went to bed on a Thursday night in 2020 and dreamed about the most beautiful house I had ever seen. When I woke up the next morning, I remembered the dream vividly and thought, I want to retire in that house. 2 days later, I found a large lake lot with a sandy beach for sale and purchased it. Then, I began working on the plans for the house to ensure everything would be exactly how I wanted it. I focused on every detail, handpicked every light fixture, and examined thousands of stone countertops before selecting the right ones. The house is built, and it is absolutely stunning. It has plenty of room and lots of light, with a wall of windows facing the water. I am just finishing the small details now, but I spend every weekend there enjoying the beach. I can hardly wait to retire and live there full-time. Story 42. I have written 2 opinion editorials that were published in a newspaper. However, I wrote them for clients at my job, so someone else's name was credited, and I cannot disclose that I wrote them. Story 43. I don't know if others would consider it an achievement, but for me, in my Christian life, it was seeing Jesus Christ in a dream and receiving a hug from him. Despite no one believing me or saying it was all in my head, the sensation I felt was unique. In my chest, it felt like I had a void that was filled with unparalleled happiness and peace. I don't go to church. I live my doctrine somewhat in exile and solitude. However, I believe this experience was unique, and if I were to ask 100 people in the church, it is likely that no one has had something similar. This memory is something I always cherish and carry as an achievement. Story 44. I left my country and moved to Paris, France. I had no money. Now I am running my photo agency here. Story 45. I moved out at 17 completely on my own and have been managing my finances and paying all of my bills on time. It may not be much, but it makes me happy. Story 46. I wrote a poem every day of 2020 and self-published it as a book, including the little notes I wrote about each poem. I am proud of maintaining this practice for the entire year, and now I have a record of that remarkable year in poetry and notes. Story 47. I have helped stop 2 of my close friends from committing suicide. It may not be an achievement, but I am happy they are better and still with me. Story 48. I have created a stable living that allows my wife to be a stay-at-home mom with our 3 daughters. Story 49. I have been gradually working my way up the ladder in my company, and now my hard work is finally paying off after 2.5 years. I started as a technician with no experience using tools. Now I hear the Human Resources Department, my supervisor, and other higher-ups telling me they see great potential in me for a leadership role. It's really exciting. I've never had a job that paid me more than minimum wage, and I have almost doubled my wages since I first started here. I am currently the troubleshooter and recently became a lead in avionics. It has been tough since I only worked in retail and food service before this, so I had to teach myself a lot to succeed in my job. Now I am the go-to person for many departments that have their own issues or questions about how our systems work. It's a significant accomplishment for me and something I am very passionate about. Story 50. Transitioning from a low-paying fast food job to a construction position offers a significant increase in salary and benefits. Story 51. I would be just as happy with no money as I would be with wealth, and I have completely broken any attachments to material possessions. Unlike most people who panic when they can't constantly buy unnecessary items. Story 52. I have 2 wonderful children, an 8-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. They provide me with the motivation I need to keep striving for improvement. Story 53. I finally got my own apartment after 2 years. Unfortunately, we are now being forced out due to a lack of funds for rent, which is disappointing. Story 54. I aim to raise a happy and healthy human who contributes positively to the world. Now that I am older, I focus more on the small actions I can take to improve the world, rather than on personal achievements. This includes donating to our local animal shelter or assisting someone in need. Story 55. I grew up in a difficult family. I remember thinking as a child, one day I'm going to start my own family and leave that behind me. And then I did just that. Don't waste time trying to fix things that don't want to be fixed. Sometimes it's better to start fresh on your own terms. Story 56. I believed that advancing myself in the social hierarchy through hard work, study, and multiple academic achievements, even while holding 2 jobs, was my main focus. However, my little princess arrived with her doll in one hand, wearing a pink dress, holding a cardboard sword, and on rollerblades. Suddenly, everything else became mere details in my life. Story 57. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. Unfortunately, I have not been able to use it and am stuck in a dead-end job making minimum wage. Story 58. Last summer, I spent a month at a university in my city to experience research in physics. I helped them collect data in the medical physics department. It was a great experience. Story 59. Designing a car that is small and has a pleasant odor, ensuring that the steering will remain securely in place while driving. Story 60. Learning to live after a house fire that left me with disabilities, including multiple lung diseases and significant burn scars. Story 61. Getting into IT as a self-taught individual without formal education and working my way up to an engineer in Silicon Valley has been a challenging journey. Raising 4 children has not been particularly easy either. Story 62. I'm 30 and I would say something simple like having a dedicated friend group. At my age, I know many people who have few friends or quickly dive into relationships, so I'm happy that my friend group is non-dramatic and diverse. Story 63. Being able to help my parents financially is meaningful to me. It may not be a large amount, but it feels good to contribute. I come from a challenging background. Story 64. I am still alive and well after experiencing total heart failure in November 2022. Having lived with HIV since I became infected in 1986, I also survived a near-fatal blood-borne staph infection, sepsis, and endocarditis in 1996. Story 65. After 5 years of hard work, I am graduating with my bachelor's degree. This is the same year we purchased our new home in February, marking 2 significant life achievements in 2025. Story 66. Retiring from military service. I'm still not sure how I made it to the end without going broke, getting divorced, or succumbing to my mental health issues, but I finally made it to the finish line. A shout out to all the other aircraft maintainers out there. Story 67. Giving birth without anesthesia and raising a little girl with presence and awareness while being the primary provider and making time for my art and physical activity. Story 68. I quit smoking cannabis cartridges every day. I felt lost and neglected myself. I was smoking in the morning, afternoon, and night, taking at least 3 puffs each time. It was unhealthy. Once I turned 25, I had an epiphany and stopped. Thank God. Story 69. I have never paid any interest. I will not support the harmful system of usury that makes life on earth difficult. Story 70. Being able to recognize that the religion I was born into is a cult and then leaving despite the shunning by my family and most of my friends. Story 71. I loaned $465 to an employee who was on probation for his college scholarship. He was able to stay in school, regain his scholarship, and graduated summa cum laude. He also paid me back in less than 2 months. I never expected to see the money again. It was an amazing growth experience for him. Personally, I had to drop out of college for a similar reason when I lost my scholarships. No one was there to help me over that hurdle. Being able to provide something I didn't have felt like a significant accomplishment for me. I own 3 paid-off buildings and a profitable business, but for some reason, those accomplishments pale in comparison. He ran up and hugged me so hard at his graduation last week that I thought I was going to fall over. I've never felt so appreciated in my life, and it didn't even cost me anything. Story 72. No major broken bones. I haven't overdosed on drugs or gone to jail. I managed to keep a roof over my head and food in my stomach. My life is about subsistence, getting by as best I can in this challenging economy where housing is the single largest expenditure for most people, followed by medical care and food. I haven't been to the dentist in over a decade due to high costs and lack of coverage. Yet my mouth shows no signs of decay or cavities, despite my typical sugar-laden American diet, which I also dislike. I haven't even held hands with a woman who could offer me a genuine smile in over 15 years. So, I guess my biggest achievement in life is that I have not let my frustrations drive me to do something immensely foolish. Besides, I have cats to take care of. Story 73. I am in a position of not freaking out as much about the loss of my job. This is the second time in a decade that I have been made redundant by a company. This time, I am in a much better financial position, so I feel less stressed. Story 74. Learning to let go of what bothered me. Anxiety, negative friendships, bad habits, and vices have all weighed me down tremendously. Now that they are gone, it feels like I can actually live my life without repercussions. Story 75. I have 3 children, a house downtown with a large river in the backyard, 2 dogs, and a cat. As a child and teenager, I had to wait in line at the food shelf. As a young adult, I experienced homelessness in Seattle, sleeping in parks. I never imagined I would own a house or have children because I was infertile for 5 years. I lost 185 pounds and I'm still in therapy working on myself. My childhood was extremely traumatic, and I almost didn't make it to adulthood. Story 76. Published 2 academic journal articles in major international journals and 1 international conference, all as the first author. Story 77. I have a solid marriage with someone who mutually loves and respects me. It is by far the best thing in my life. Story 78. I got my dream job that I have wanted since I was young, despite my family telling me it was unrealistic. Similarly, I had children at a young age but worked hard to achieve my goals. They have grown to be great people as well. I am debt-free. My current goal is to save for home ownership. Better late than never. However, my personality needs improvement. Story 79. Not taking my own life, all things considered. Oh, and I once received 15,000 upvotes on Reddit or YouTube. I can't remember. I felt famous for 3 days. Story 80. I was fortunate to bring all the soldiers under my command home from Afghanistan alive after 3 tours. Story 81. Not ending my life. I first had suicidal thoughts before I turned 10 and experienced them regularly since I was 15. I will be 31 later this year. Story 82. My daughter. I never thought parenthood would happen for me, and due to chronic illness, I'm not always the parent I would like to be. However, my daughter is such a feisty, funny, clever toddler. Story 83. 7 years in professional wrestling and transforming a massage therapy business into a continual stream of corporate massage bookings, memberships, and success. Story 84. I am likely graduating from college. I have a tendency to expect things to be completed, so when I actually finish something, I do not view it as a milestone but rather as something I was supposed to do. Story 85. Honestly, having children, a wonderful wife, and a career I love has been fulfilling. I never really thought I would reach past 20. Story 86. 10 years married to my soulmate. She is truly my perfect match. We even share the same birthday on Valentine's Day, and we were born in the same year. Story 87. Traveling to 38 countries on every continent except Antarctica has been an incredible experience. I would continue my journeys, but now, with 3 small children, it's a bit more challenging. Story 88. In my personal life, I started a relationship with my girlfriend, making her truly happy, loved, and safe, while experiencing the same from her. In my professional life, I earned a law degree and later a Master of Science in Computer Science. Story 89. Sobriety since October 2023 came after 30 years of trying to drink myself happy. Sobriety delivers what alcohol promises. Story 90. Paying off my entire student debt before turning 30 was a significant achievement for me. I had to live at home for a few years, save 80% of my paycheck, and work full-time, including regular overtime. But it was definitely worth it. Story 91. Being able to buy a house 2 years ago at the age of 24, while happily married with 2 beautiful and healthy children. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.